Hello, and welcome to the 30-Minute Reels Employer Informational Series hosted by Marshall University's Office of Career Education. My name is Darby McLeod, and I'm a student here at Marshall University. Today, I'm speaking with Greg Adkins, who is an assistant coach for Marshall University. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to doing this for you guys
Well, thank you for being here.
and all the students out there.
Thank you for being here with us today. I just want to start off with a quick introduction of yourself.
Yeah, my name is Greg Adkins. I'm assistant football coach here at Marshall University. I coach position-wise, I coach the offensive line. I'm also the recruiting coordinator for our football team. I'm in my third year, but this is my second stint here at Marshall. Actually, my third, because I played football here at Marshall in the late 80s. And then I coached here from 90 to 95, and now I'm back. And this will be my third season back with Marshall.
That's awesome. How'd you get started in this field?
Well, it's actually a misfortune, a couple different things. Sometimes I knew I wanted to do something with sports. When I was here in school at Marshall, I have a sports management degree from Marshall, but I knew I wanted to do something in athletics. But I wasn't real sure, truthfully. And to be honest, I tried to get into another university's master's program that is known worldwide as one of the best sports management programs, and I didn't get in. And there's actually there was a coaching change that went on with our football program in 1990 when a guy, my coach, left and got another job, and they hired a new coach, and I got to know him, and he offered me a position as a graduate assistant, with the football program.
Yeah. Did you always know you were going to be a coach, or did you want to do something else in the field?
Well, I was truthfully, I was leaning towards being a sports agent. I wanted to get a master's and then go into law school and, be an agent, represent athletes in the professional world. But I guess when things happened the way they did and the way it fell, I knew this was okay, and this was fine. And the more I got involved after my first couple of years of doing it, I knew this is probably what I should have been doing anyway.
What would you say a typical day at work looks like for you?
Well, it's really different throughout. We have multi-facets of the calendar, of the 12-month calendar. During in season is very long days. If you were to say an in season day, typically is 12 to 14 hours a day, with truthfully game days being one of the shortest days.
Really?
There's a lot of things, a lot of preparation, a lot of things that happen throughout the week to prepare a football team to play a game. And then there's a recruiting cycle period, December, January, February, that you're doing a lot of traveling, between Huntington and Georgia or Tennessee, Florida, wherever we go to recruit our student athletes. And then there's a spring period, which is kind of a more, I don't want to say relaxed, but it's more of a 8 to 5, 8 to 6 type situation. And then the summertime is really cool because you do get some time off. And I'd say the one thing about our business in football is most of your off time comes at one time. So you could literally have 4 or 5 weeks in a row off, but that would be in the summer times. Again, with COVID-19, a lot of things have changed. Mm-hmm. And truthfully, we've had no days off. And we have worked straight through this year, with all the different things it's happened in the world and within our organization.
What are the different settings in which people in this occupation may work?
Well, the settings is like within a football program. If you want to be involved, let's just say in football, certainly you have assistant coaches, you have the head coach, you have coordinators of certain sides of the ball, whether it's offense or defense. You have recruiting, which is its own kind of like department. Then you have the younger side, the entry-level positions, which are graduate assistants jobs, internships, analysts, what they call analyst, which is kind of like in between graduate assistant and a full-time position. It's kind of like you're about ready to take the next step. And then, that's just in terms of coaching. Then you have a whole strength and conditioning program who has its own group of people, which is just, really for football. So there's many layers of the organization just for football, let alone athletics in general at Marshall.
So there's a lot of different things to get into.
Yeah, there's a lot of different fields. The thing about this profession is there's more opportunities for younger people today than they were when I started, simply because there's more creative positions. There's more things. We actually have a kid who's not a full-time employee, but he does all of our graphics that we tweet out. Like you have a graphic designer just for football, who does a number of different things. It's mainly for recruiting, but now it's actually one of the hottest jobs in athletics right now. Really? Is graphic design. Yeah. So, because of the social media aspect of everything that you're promoting from an athletic standpoint, you got to have some kind of content, not just words. So you have a lot of pictures of graphics that we send out. And so now that has become, there's I know football programs across the country that have 2 and 3 people hired for graphic design now, which did not even exist 6 years ago, probably. And it is probably the hottest job in our business in athletics right now.
I would have never thought that. So it sounds like technology has increased and opportunities in this field.
Well, it is, because everything we do, just on my desk, I have 2 different computers. I have an iPad that I'm talking on right now, number of different ways to communicate with people. And I think we've even learned more throughout this pandemic of other ways to communicate. I did a meetings with my players for 4 straight months, via what we're doing right now through Zoom or Microsoft Teams, So I think now it's even more important to have younger people that might be a little more inclined to have technology on their side. I'm a little bit older guy. It's not that I don't learn those types of things, but it's not something I want to do all the time. So having younger people around certainly helps.
That's incredible that y'all have such opportunities for younger people to go into the field. And I heard you talk about internships a little bit. Could you expand more on that? Like what interns would typically do?
Well, I think mainly they are going to, what we do is we try to get them working under a certain coach. And maybe they learn just one phase of the game, or one side of the football. It just gives them sort of an entry level look, at what we do. And sometimes you have interns that, what, this is probably not for me. I didn't realize you work 15 hours a day, 7 days a week. Or it might be, man, and then the passion starts, sort of like when I was a younger coach. I knew I wanted to do something, but I gained more wanting to do this job the more I was involved with it. So there is some opportunities for internships. Mainly, you probably have had to play the game of football, even though there's some opportunities for people that didn't play the game. But the number one way is to be a former athlete that played the game.
What does a typical work schedule look like for you each week?
Well, again, it would depend on what part of the calendar that we're involved with. In season is a good 80 to 90 hour week probably. When we get into the recruiting side of things, it's not as it's probably as stressful because you're chasing kids around trying to recruit them to your university. But your day is kind of dictated on what the players that you're recruiting schedule might look like, but it's not as long. It's not, you're probably talking about an 8 to 10 hour day. And then in the spring, like I said, is an 8 or 9 hour day. And in the summers are a lot more relaxed.
Is this work schedule typical for this occupation, or does it vary with location?
Yeah, I would say that for the most part, it's pretty much standard. I think there's certain people that maybe want to come in earlier. Maybe the work day starts earlier and they finish a little bit earlier. And then there's some there's some people that may start the day a little bit later, but they'll finish a little bit later. I think it depends on who your head coach is, really. If they're an early morning person, your day may start at 6 a.m. and go to 6 or 7 at night. If your coach is a younger person that sleeps in a lot, that probably a lot of you guys are watching this are, then your day might start at 8, but you stay till 8. So I think that varies in how you go about your day and how you plan. And I think one of the misconceptions about coaching is there's a lot of planning that goes on a daily basis. There's calendars laying around me. I have a calendar for the next 30 days laying here that has every minute of the day scheduled out for us as coaches and our players. So, that takes time. That just didn't happen overnight, that you put a schedule of 30 days with all the detail that's in the schedule. That takes time to put together.
That's incredible. And it actually kind of leads me into my next question, which is, would you say having a flexible work schedule is important for this career?
Yeah, I think you got to be willing to adapt, because there's things that come up. Even though I may leave here at 6 tonight, my players are like my children. So I may have a problem with one of my players at 8:30 at night. I'm going to have to be on my phones on 24/7. There is no breaks. So if something happens, then I got to be ready to deal with that player or something, quote unquote, when I'm not at work. But I think in this profession, if you got to get in it because you love the game and you want to teach and you want to mold children. I shouldn't say children, young adults into football players. And if you're thinking this is an 8 to 5 job, you're wrong. You're wrong.
It takes
this is really a 24/7 job.
What would you say is the most rewarding thing about working in this industry?
I think seeing players develop from when they're a freshman, they're 18 years old. And, some of them graduate when they're 22, 23 years old. Just that maturation process of growing up. And truthfully in football and changing their bodies, where they may be, not so fit when they get here as compared when 4 years of college lifting, they change their bodies. But probably the most rewarding thing, truthfully, is to see them graduate. Because there's kids that come in with all different levels of education when they come in, no matter where you've coached, whether it's been in high academic institutions or, just average institutions. I think seeing kids with maybe some backgrounds that you don't, maybe they're the first to graduate, and that's still happening, in the United States. There's still a lot of families out there that some of these kids are the first people that graduated from their family. And I think seeing that is probably as rewarding as anything. I have 7 seniors on the team this year. 5 of the 7 will have their degree before they even play a game this fall. So they've all graduated in 4 years, and 2 of them are already in a master's program prior to their senior year. So these kids work their tails off. They're almost 365 too. So you have to commend them for what they do. Now, do we all have some guys that don't do everything they're supposed to do? Sure. But seeing kids, excel on and off the field is probably the most rewarding part of this business.
That's incredible. What would you say is one of the most challenging things about working in this industry?
I think social media is not good for coaches much anymore. I think there's a lot of negativity in the world. I think that's been something that's changed, obviously, in the last 10 years, I guess, with the social media aspect. I think our kids sometimes get fairly mistreated, if they drop a touchdown pass or something. I don't think that's fair. These kids try as hard as they possibly can. And as us as coaches, we don't try to make mistakes, but we all make mistakes. Ours just gets magnified in front of 40,000 people in the stands and by hundreds of millions of people watching on TV. And so you have to be strong. in this business to be able. But that's probably the most challenging thing right now is to keep kids focused. I think again, as much as we embrace technology, I think it also hurts us because we're all just looking for the next story, right? We're all products of turning and looking at our phone and what's happened in the last 5 minutes. We got to. It's like we constantly need information, and and I think sometimes that's challenging for us as coaches. You want to sometimes get blinders on and just pay attention to what's going on right now and not worried about what happened 20 minutes ago or what's going to happen in 20 minutes in the future too. So I don't know if that really answered your question, but I just think at the end of the day that social media right now is, is about as challenging as anything that we do in this business.
No, I would have never actually thought about that before. If you fumble or something, and
yeah, I mean, and it varies. I think probably from place to place that you coach, but it is what it is, and it's tough. I mean, these kids don't mean to do that. And they've made a mistake. And, if we all owned up to our mistakes, we wouldn't have people like that, talking negative about people.
No, absolutely. You're absolutely right. What skills are most important to acquire, or what skills do employers look for?
Well, in this business, I think a couple things. Number one is I think experience. I think a former player has a better opportunity in this profession. I think someone more or someone that's been an athlete has a better chance in our profession because I think people that are hiring people in our business always want people that have been in the shoes of the players. I think they think that the communication skills will be better between people, but I think the number one thing is communication. If you can't communicate, face to face or be able to motivate. I think communication and be able to motivate. And I think being open, closed-minded people struggle in this business. That I only do it this way and this is the only way it's going to happen and that kind of thing. I think you got to be open to ideas because things change. And I think those are three things that I would look for if I was hiring people and to be, number one, to be able to communicate because you're a teacher. I mean, people don't want to think of this profession as a teacher, but you're teaching every day. I'm on the grease board every day. I'm showing film. I'm instructing. So I think if you don't have good presentation skills or communication skills, I think you would struggle initially in this business.
How important is career development in college, like networking, mentorships, and job shadowing?
Well, I think it's highly important. Truthfully, in this business, it's not sometimes what you know, it's who you know. And I've seen coaches over the years that are not very good coaches get opportunities just because they knew the person that was doing the hiring better than the other guy. I think the more times as I would suggest as a young coach, you move around as much as you possibly can. When you don't have a family, you don't have to worry about upsetting your family moving around. I think that's important because the more people that you can can come in contact with and obviously do a good job for, you never know who's going to be a head coach to be in the position to hire you in this profession. So I think it's got to know a lot of people, but I'm not saying move around just to move around. You got to do a good job at the places that you work. So that person might recommend you for another job in the future. So networking is very important.
What job search advice would you give to job seekers?
Again, I think it's very difficult. But there's also the NCAA website. There's job postings on, obviously each state has different ways they post jobs at Marshall or West Virginia or Oklahoma State or Syracuse, wherever it is. And there's different ways, and everybody has to post jobs that are available. I think knowing there's a couple websites, particularly just for football out there. A website called footballscoop.com and kind of gives you some insight of jobs that have just recently opened or might be opening. So maybe you could get a leg up on the competition by knowing somebody at that particular university that you might be looking at. So that's a pretty good website. It's usually fairly good information.
Oh, that's great. What resume tips would you give to prospective job applicants?
I think number one in this profession, the more you do, just write it down. Like being tech savvy or computer, whatever you can do. Every skill that you learn while you're in the building, you just need to take note of that. If you do get that opportunity to be the intern or graduate assistant, just take notes. Over here in my thing is I literally have everything that we did for 365 days last year. I have it in a binder, so I'm able to go back and look. But that young people should be doing that. They in my opinion, they should be taking notes of the person that they're working for. Like as he's teaching, he should be writing just like he's the player. So I think there's a number of different things, but I think if deep down is to on the resume is to try to acquire as many things in this particular job that you're doing and be proficient at it. Don't just do it half, do it to your fullest. And when people do good jobs in our profession, you usually get rewarded.
That's some great advice. What is the hiring process like for someone entering this career path?
Again, I think it's about more about who you know, and truthfully knowing about the job prior. Like you got a headhunter, so to speak, that lets you know that, hey, there's going to be some of these jobs open. This is what I'm hearing. Trying to be ahead of the process is very difficult when you're breaking in the business because you don't have a lot of contacts. So I think by doing some internships may help you create your network, than to create your ability to maybe know these things prior to them opening.
What are some common entry-level jobs in your field?
Well, graduate assistant would be the number one thing. Graduate assistant, there's some NCAA rules that only allow you to have 4 of those in football. So there's only 4 of those here, usually 2 on offense and 2 on defense. And then the next thing would be the interns, where there's some limitations on interns, but there's not, depending on each school that you're at. And then the analyst jobs have kind of gone both ways. They're for younger people, but they're also for older people that may have not found the next job, and it allows them to stay in the field, but at a more reduced role. So the analyst jobs are kind of like, okay, I got a young, hot coach. I want to try to keep him in the program, so we move him to the analyst role. Or it might be, oh, there's a coach that, for whatever reasons doesn't have a job, and you bring that person in because he has a wealth of experience, but you can't hire him, but other than this analyst role. So it's kind of a two-sided deal, but those are the 3 ways to actually get the entry level. Or you could be a student coach, meaning guys that have, maybe had an injury or something on our team that can no longer play. We've had some of those guys over the years that have just kind of plugged in and help, sort of in the intern role, even though they might still be on scholarship or whatever it might be. So those are some ways.
What do you wish someone would have told you before you started this career?
That it'd be this rewarding. A lot. I first brought into the business, nobody really told me that I would be this satisfied with choosing the career that I've done. I mean, this is year 29 for me, and this is it's been a good run. It's been a good run. I've been in a lot of good places, and I've been in a lot of places where football is important, or athletics are important. I've been in a lot of good academic institutions. I've lived in 6 or 7 different states along the way. I've coached in the National Football League. So, I've met a lot of great people. I've coached a lot of great people. Just the rewarding fact that, I feel like I've helped. I have 3 children of my own, but I really feel like I've probably have about 1,000 children, truthfully, that I've helped mentor over the years in some way. And if I can reach just one of them each year or whatever it might be, which it's usually more than that, I feel very fulfilled about this job.
That's incredible. What tips would you provide to students at Marshall University?
In terms of trying to get in this profession,
Yes.
yeah, I think it's the same thing. I mean, hopefully this series will help. Hopefully them listening to what I've said will give them some insight of, well, you know what, maybe I don't want to do that. Everybody, as they call them Monday quarterbacks, sit around and second guess people all the time. But, until you have to make that call, and be out there exposed to so many different people, this is a tough job. This is not for everybody. It really is not. And I think the students here at Marshall obviously support our athletics program and support our football program extremely well. And but I just think that not playing the game is very difficult to get in this profession. Again, I think I've said that a few times. I think the more you've been exposed to athletics in your life, the better opportunities that you'll have in this business.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. Those are great tips that you provided us. And thank you again for sharing your career with students at Marshall University. It was really great to experience the life of a coach. Thank you for participating in our series and have a great day.
Absolutely. Thank you guys. All right.